This video is sponsored by SquareSpace. The development and the rise in popularity of aerodynamic race bikes has been an interesting one ever since the original Cervelo Soloist arrived on the scene and changed the game forever. Now, clearly these bikes are popular with pros paid to win races because marginal gains do matter. The difference between winning and losing can often be very, very small indeed. But for us mere mortals, these bikes are still very appealing for the simple thrill of speed they offer. And putting all the marketing claims for these bikes to one side, what these bikes offer me at the end of the day is an excitement, a thrill, a sensation, and bikes that are ultimately fun to ride. And for me personally, that is more important than saving a few seconds. So in this video, I picked 6 amazing aero bikes that I personally would consider if I was in the market for a new bike this year. I'll put links and prices down below in the description so you can check them out further after the video. So without further ado, let's dive in. One of the most exciting new aerodynamic race bikes in my opinion is a brand new, fully updated Giant Propel. You saw it last year here at Just Ride Bikes, a link to it down below. And it is a fantastic looking aero bike and way better than the company's previous effort with a Giant Propel. We have a very nice looking frame, horizontal level top tube, clearly aero in a down tube, the fork profiles and the rear stays, and brand new internal cable routing with an all new handlebar and stem that's much simpler and much easier to work on for the home mechanic and adjust a bike fit than the old design, which had the cables going over the top of the stem into the frame. So a much better solution and a much better looking bike as a result, and also a much lighter bike as well, with a range topping Dura-Race Di2 spec coming in at 6.9 kilograms on my scales for a size ML. So we are finally getting to a point where aerodynamic race bikes, proper aero bikes, are now truly lightweight. Yes, we have aero crossovers like the Pinarello Dogma F and a Specialized Tarmac SL7, which are pretty lightweight, but they're not pure aero race bikes in the way the Giant Propel is. And the great thing about the Propel is it's a very conventional design. No holes in the seat tube or any other jazz like that. A very simple, very solid design. And with Giant's engineering and manufacturing know-how, it should be a reliable bike as well. Yes, we have a press-fit bottom bracket, but it is a more reliable BB86 standard at least. And Giants, of course, are good value for money. Although this is more expensive than we come to see from Giant in the past, the prices are definitely more appealing than other more mainstream brands. So definitely a good option. If I'm buying an aero bike in 2023, this will be at the top of my shortlist for sure. If it's good enough for Mattia van der Poel, then it's probably good enough for you and I. Yes, the Canyon Aeroad is definitely on a shortlist for new aero bikes in 2023. Recently updated, we now have full internal cable routing on the CF SLX and the CFR, the two range topping models, while the entry-level CF SL does with normal external cable routing. It's not the most radical or futuristic or extreme looking aero bike, and neither, in my experience, is it the fastest out there, but it is a very fast bike nonetheless, and a bike that offers pretty good comfort despite those massive deep profiles as well. It's a bike that will easily look after you on a long ride on rough roads for sure. And you also get a collapsible handlebar that makes it easier to travel with than other bikes in this category, and that's ideal if you've got an early season training camp or you want to go traveling with your aero race bike, because those internal cable routing systems can be tricky to disassemble to put in a bike bag. And despite price rises, Canyon are still good value for money, and no need to go to the bike shop. The bike is delivered to your front door in a box. Cervelo arguably started the whole aero race bike genre way back in the early 2000s with the original Soloist, and the S5 is their most aero race bike to date. Been around for about 10 years now, but has definitely evolved quite a lot over the years, and the latest version is one of the most radical and extreme looking aero bikes, all thanks to a V-shaped riser handlebar. And thanks to Jumbo-Visma, clearly one of the fastest bikes in the pro peloton right now. And if you want a bike that's proven in the World Tour with that stamp of approval, then this is clearly a good option. Despite the radical V-shaped handlebar, the new version is claimed to be easier to work on than the old bike, so ideal for home mechanics or privateer racers, and also easier to make fit adjustments for as well. Something that's pretty tricky with one-piece handlebars and stems. You're pretty tied in to what the bike comes with, but Cervelo says the new bike is easier to make adjustments to, so that is a good thing. This new version also makes use of the latest UCI rules around tube profiles and that 3-to-1 rule. So we have a deeper down tube, deeper bottom bracket and a much deeper head tube than the old bike to improve the aero over that previous model. So a faster bike overall with very little downside, and the weight has also been improved as well, although it's not one of the lightest bikes, coming in about 8.2 kilos for a top end model. So fast, yes, radical for sure, but definitely not the lightest and quite a bit heavier than that giant Propel. But with space for 34mm wide tyres, this could be a bike that really excels away from racing on the local rough roads that most of us have to deal with, but we still want to ride as fast as possible with a modicum of comfort. Now, before we carry on any further, this video is sponsored by SquareSpace. A new year means a shiny new website, and with SquareSpace, it really couldn't be simpler. So if you need a new website for your bike shop, your cool bike brand, or you just want to start blogging, with Squarespace, it really couldn't be simpler. You've got an intuitive interface, very simple to use, loads of cool templates that you can customize your heart's content, round the clock support, and loads of powerful tools as well. It really couldn't be simpler, quicker, or easier, and more affordable thanks to a 10% discount and a free trial by using a code and link down below in the description. Okay, let's carry on. Like Cervelo, Scott were right there at the beginning of the birth of the Aero race bike category with the original foil. I remember testing the bike and being blown away with the speed it offered over traditional round tube bikes of the time. But the one big downside was the comfort. It was a rigid, harsh experience. But thankfully, Aero bikes in that regard, in terms of comfort, have improved a lot over the past 10 years or so. And this new Scott foil was a big departure from that original, and it's definitely shown that progress of aero enhancements on the new version. And not only is it more aero than the old bike, but it's also much lighter, which is a good thing. With a weight of about 7.4 kilograms, not the lightest in the world, but definitely lighter than that Cervelo Soloist as an example. So less weight is good when you encounter climbs, which most of us have to deal with, unless you live somewhere flat like the Netherlands, where you just have headwinds to deal with instead. One of my favourite things about Scott as a brand is their attention to detail and doing things really smartly and very neatly. An example of that on the new foil is the brand new seat post. They have an elastomer section built into the top of the seat post to provide more comfort and more smoothness on rough roads. So it's a really neat way of adding more comfort without doing anything really complex to the frame, like say putting a hole in the seat tube. There's then space for up to 28mm wide tyres, not the most generous in the aero bike category, and the geometry is the same as the Addict RC race bike, so handling should be responsive, fast and agile, just what you want for a race bike. Aero bikes definitely make a statement of intent, and none make quite a statement as the new Orbea Orca Aero, which I reviewed on a channel about a year ago, linked that review down below. One of the most extreme looking aero bikes I've ever ridden, and definitely a bike that pushes the rules to the absolute limit. As you can see on screen now, the bike has an Aero water bottle, which is pretty standard on time trial bikes, but then we have this belly down tube storage area on the bottom of the down tube, which is something I've never seen on a road bike before. We have integration of storage on mountain bikes, holes in the down tube for snacks and tools, but I've never seen anything like this on a road bike. Thankfully, you can remove the down tube storage and the Aero water bottle and put a normal setup on, which you have to do to make it UCI legal, because with these bits fitted, it isn't UCI legal, but with these bits fitted, it's apparently much faster than without. So if you want maximum aero and you don't mind how it looks, this is definitely a bike to choose and consider for 2023. The Orbea Orca Aero has all the usual aero tricks as well. A nice level top tube because it's more aero than a drop one. We have a seat tube that really hugs the rear wheel, as does a down tube, so really aero and almost like a time trial bike with drop handlebars. We then have internal cable routing, but with a two-piece handlebar and stem, giving you plenty of fit adjustment on the front end, so you're not locked into a one-piece handlebar and stem like with so many other aero bikes. So maybe a small trade-off in pure aero and looks as well, but being able to change the stem or handlebar to get the setup you want is definitely a good thing in my opinion. Easily one of the most divisive new bikes launched in the past few months, but also one of the most popular aero bikes of the past few years. The Madone has been a good choice if you want speed and good comfort. thanks to the high-speed decoupler. But on the new 7th generation Madone, that feature has gone and been replaced by the ISOFlow, the hole in a seat tube that apparently, according to claims, gives the same compliance and comfort as the old bike with the high-speed decoupler, but also saves a bunch of weight. The new bike is much lighter than the old bike, which is a good thing because the bike was a bit portly before, and also apparently improves the aero. But most of the aero savings actually come from a new handlebar and stem, much narrower than the old bike and really sleek looking as well. They save a bunch of weight in that area alone, giving over 300 grams between the frame and the handlebar and stem. It's a bike that looks radical, definitely gets loads of attention when you're out riding it, in my experience, and is a real talking point whenever you stop at a cafe or a set of traffic lights. And while many aero bikes are increasingly looking the same, the fact it looks so different, and I think it looks cool, is not a bad thing at all. And so far, there have been no concerns around structural durability of that unique ISOFlow setup. And if you watch my review on the Trek Madone, linked to that video down below, you'll know I found it an amazing fast bike with fantastic handling, really nice and stable at high speeds, which are more easily achieved on the bike, and a sensational speed. Even if the wind tunnel is not quite as fast as I would have thought it'd be, it's still amazing. It just builds up speed really quickly, really easily, and maintains those high speeds more easily compared to other bikes. Strava doesn't lie, this is a quick bike. Looks quick, goes quick, but it is very expensive. Hopefully there'll be an SL version which brings all the technology to a low price point thanks to a low grade carbon fibre sometime in 2023. If you're watching this video, you might be wondering if an aero bike is really worth it and worth the upgrade over a non-aero race bike. Well, all things being equal, an aero frame will be more aero and therefore faster, or save you watts at every speed compared to a non-aero round tube frame. And the differences between those two frames will vary depending on the brand and the model and the differences between the two bikes. But generally, all things being equal, they will be faster or save you drag at different speeds. Now, it's worth remembering that when you're riding a bike, about 80% of the drag you face is from your body. The rider is the biggest bulk of the air resistance you face when riding at every speed, above about 15 miles per hour where aero really kicks in. And the faster you go, the bigger the gains become, which is why most aero bikes come attached with big claims made for speeds in excess of 40, 45 or 50 kilometers per hour, because the gains made at those high speeds are easier to extract, and also because the pro peloton rides at those speeds, often much faster. But it's worth remembering that the gains are also achievable at low speeds, from 15 miles per hour, so about 20 to 25 kilometers per hour. The gains might be lower than at 50 kilometers per hour, but the gains will still be there. And it's not always about going faster, it's about saving watts at those low speeds, so you arrive fresher, less fatigued at the end of your ride. But providing you've optimized your fit, your clothing, you've got deep section wheels, an aero helmet and other bits and bobs, an aero frame would definitely be the final step in unlocking your full potential over a non-aero frame.